Hey beautiful people, how's it going, and welcome to a new video. So in today's video I'm showcasing my Baron build for 3.15. This is a cold conversion build using the Triad grip gloves. We are also using skeletons in a 6-link setup, which makes it feel quite nice for doing stuff like blight maps, and it makes bossing DPS quite huge. Overall, I'm quite happy with the build. I've managed to pretty much do all content. The only thing this build really can't do is delirious maps. If you're planning to do some Juice Canyon farming, this really isn't the build to try and do that. But this is a good boss farmer. I managed to kill the Feared at level 87. It was white, and I did die a few times because I lagged and then tilted. But we managed to get it done, which is pretty impressive for a level 87 character, to be honest with you. So yeah, it feels quite smooth for bossing. If you want to give it a try, I'm going to do the full guide now. POE will also be in the description. I'm just going to let you see the showcase. I'll talk about the costs and stuff after the showcase, so feel free to check it out, and I will catch you in a mo, guys. Okay guys, so I'm going to answer the question that everybody asked straight away. How much will this cost me? Set me back. It's not too bad, to be honest. So with the Baron Zombie Summoner, you can technically league start with it because it's a summoner. It's pretty good at you know, leveling up and making its way with no gear. So don't think that you need this exact amount to start playing the build. You can probably do this build with 0, but this is just basically a ballpark towards the end game type of gear that you'd expect to have. So for the budget version versus my version, I have a few changes. I've deducted pretty much all of the Awakened gems. And I've deducted an Empower 4 into an Empower 3 over here. So already we're knocking off 18x off the price over here. And mine is slightly more expensive because I am using a synthesized weapon at the moment, which, you know, racks up the cost a bit. But again, not totally necessary. You can play this build without it. You can play this build without this weapon, to be honest, and you can just do an even more budget version if you really want. And I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, scrolling down. So this includes the Animate Guardian gear as well for both builds. Total, my current gear is around 81 exalts. Budget to do basically endgame stuff, you know, we'll call it budget. 21x in total to be able to do endgame content with this build pretty nicely, pretty smoothly. Again, you don't really need a budget to start the build at all anyway. So I'm going to basically compare this as I go along in the video, as I usually do if you've never seen this before. So yeah, I'll get cracking on my gear in the video right now. Okay guys, so let's jump into the unique gear, starting with the Triad grip gloves. So we will need 4 green sockets on these gloves, and what they do is convert 100% of fizz damage to cold damage once you have the 4 green sockets. They also give your minions a chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. These gloves are super good. I think you can wear them at level 26, and they will heavily streamline your leveling process up. They feel super smooth to run through the axe with. So yeah, buy these with the green sockets, I would recommend, because messing around and trying to color them yourself can be a bit of a hassle sometimes. They're about 15-20C to get with 4 green sockets, so yeah, pick a pair up ASAP. Now, moving on to the helmet. The Baron, a staple in the Baron build. So, raise zombies deal 40% increased damage is the enchant you want. A helmet like this is only around 40-50C, something like that. 50, 60. Yeah, so pick one of these up with the enchant if you can. It's nice and cheap. And what the Baron does is it gives +1 to maximum number of raised zombies per 500 strength you have. And then once you have at least 1000 strength, a percentage of the damage dealt by your raised zombies will be leached to you as life. So it's a super good helmet. It will heal you tons. Half of your strength also gets added to your minions, which gives them, you know, a bit more fizz damage as well as life. So yeah, super good helmet. Moving on to the chest now. The endgame chest is the Sakawal's Nest, and you can't really replace this because it gives you the aspect of the Avian, also grants Avian's Might and Avian's Flight to nearby allies, as well as giving you a huge boost to your all attributes and a reduced reservation of skills. So it's a super good armor. It allows us to not run any Enlighten in our build, which is super good as well. And, you know, it's a big boost to the attributes. So you get one with high rolled attributes. It's not much more than a normal one, because I don't think too many people are using it. And you do not need a 10% reduced reservation of skills. If you want to get one, feel free. It will help your mana pool out a little bit, but it's not too important. So yeah, those are the 3 that are definitely mandatory for the build. Moving on to things that are changeable. So we have the Eyes of the Great Wolf here. This is a 24% increased attributes, +2 to maximum number of raised zombies. Do not worry about getting this amulet, because this is a very rare. This one cost me about 10x, which I thought was a bit cheap. But I would definitely try to avoid spending a ton on the amulet. It doesn't make too much of a difference. An alternative to this amulet is the Ascendancy, which gives you 139 to all attributes if you have a max rolled one with intrinsic catalysts on. So just pick one of those up instead of these, unless you really want to try and push for loads of raised zombies, in which case feel free to pick one of these up. These are quite expensive. And obviously the higher the attributes you get, the higher the cost. So yeah, 15x is the cheapest one, going up to 40, 50, and then 200x for what I can assume is a max rolled one. So don't worry about it too much, and just get an Astromentus to replace it. Then I'm also using a Profane Proxy over here, which allows my since it's in the left ring slot, it allows my Chilling Skillabot's Aura to apply the curse, which is Frostbite, which gives a cursed enemies have a -47 to cold res, as well as giving a 25% chance to freeze against all cursed enemies. So I'm using it at the left side so I can still have permanent shock. If you want to have permanent chill, then feel free to just swap it around. But yeah, this is the way I'm using it. I quite like it. So yeah, I'm sticking with that for now. Alright, so that just about covers the uniques that I have in the build. I will get onto the rares and whatnot now. So I'll start with the boots. So my boots are elevated increased strength with high chaos res and move speed. Now, the reason that I'm using this is because people are trying to Maven's Orb Tailwind, basically. And then if they hit the strength, usually these boots are very cheap, and this one just happened to have really good rolls, so I thought I would buy it. It was 100C for these boots, so I was quite happy to pay that for the stats it gave me. Now, if you can't afford these, or you can't find a pair that are good enough for your liking, then feel free to just use Albrun's Warpath, which is about 5C for a max rolled one. It will give you 18% to strength, as well as some chaos res, +1 to Skelly, which is a DPS increase, and then also move speed, which is quite good. So just bear that in mind when coming to the boots. Moving on to the belt, we have a synthesized belt with increased strength between 13 to 15%, and then with intrinsic on it, it goes up to 18%. And then these are super good. They cost about 2.9x. You can roll them with the Deafening Essence of Rage, and then you will always get, you know, 51 to 58 strength, and then you just use those until you get rolls that you're comfortable with. I've got tier 1 life and an open suffix for fire and chaos res, so I stuck with these for now, and I'm quite happy. So 2.9x for that. And then however many rages, you're going to need to spend it. If you don't want to go for a synthesized belt, there is a Hunter or an Elder heavy belt, which will give you just flat strength implicit. And then you can get increased attributes on that belt as well. I believe it's up to 14% with catalyst on it. So not quite as good as this, but definitely cheaper. Those are around 1x usually, so just bear that in mind. You could also use the Elder belt if you really wanted, but I've never personally tried it with this build, so feel free to give it a go if, you know, all else fails. And that will also be about 18% increased attributes, as well as maybe immune to freeze, or it gives you immune to something. You'll have to read it. I haven't looked into it that much. So moving on from that, I have an unset ring as my last ring. Just fat life, some strength and resist. Nothing too special with these. Maybe a cheap ring, maybe expensive, depending on what particular stats you're trying to get. But yeah, this one was, I think it cost me 1 or 2x. It's on the spreadsheet either way. So moving on to the final things, we're using a bow and a quiver. So with a bow, we can get +1 socketed gems, minions deal increased damage, and then we can multi-mod it with the +2 socketed support, attack and cast speed, and then we can also put aspect of the avian on it. These bows will cost you around 8.5 exalted orbs to craft, 9 to 10x to buy. I have got a guide on how you can craft one of these bows yourselves, which is on my website. If you want to take a look at it, I'll put it down in the description. It's a step-by-step guide with images, so it should be quite simple to follow. If not, you can just buy one yourself. You don't necessarily need the synthesized base. The synthesized is for the end game, so don't worry too much about it. You can just use a short bow item level 50, which you get from the card the Porcupine, and that will be absolutely fine, because to hit the +1 socketed gems, you only need an eye level 50 base, and those are about 20C, and they are 6 linked, so very easy to craft on. And then since we're using a bow, we have a quiver slot. And the quiver, basically what you're looking for is T1 life and triple res. These are always very cheap because nobody uses quivers like these. Bow characters aren't going to use these, so these are about 20C only. So yeah, very, very cheap, very easy to get. I should say as well, for the weapon, if you're on a super budget or you're just league starting or something, you can literally just get a Deafening Essence of Fear, which is the minions deal increased damage. Slap it onto a short bow that you bought for 20C, 6 linked. And then if you've got an open suffix, you can either just craft attack and cast speed and craft, yeah, well, that's just basically it, maybe. Minions have an increased attack and cast speed, and that'll be absolutely fine to use as well until you get more of a budget. Yeah, that just about covers the gear. For the flasks, not too important over here. I have 2 Corrupted Blood flasks for some reason. I totally forgot to change one of them. So, yeah, just a life flask, a granite flask, another granite flask apparently, just because it's Room's concoction, and then an enduring eternal mana flask, as well as a bottled faith, but bottled faith is not necessary. It gives about 200k more DPS for zombies. It's honestly nothing special for a summoner build, so you do not need this, or haven't included it in the pricing or anything. Just get a quartz flask or something like that. You could go basalt, granite, and a quartz flask instead of these 3 over here. Just keep the roomies for the chance to block. So that just about covers it for the gear. I'm going to move on to the skill tree now, guys. I'll catch you in a sec. Alright guys, so getting into the skill tree, it is a summoner build, so we want to pick up as many minion nodes as possible early on, so our minions can absolutely shred the content for us. So we'll start by quickly picking up a Lord of the Dead straight from the start, coming up this left way. And the reason we're coming this left way is because we have a jewel over here, which is the efficient training, which will convert all of this int nodes over here into strength, as well as giving us, you know, plus strength over here. So you can get this with Corrupted Blood for about an X, or you can get it without Corrupted Blood, and it'll cost you about 2C. Completely up to you. So yeah, after you get the Lord of the Dead, you just want to come down here, down here, and then you can go up to Death Attunement, since it's not going to be anointed early, but you will have to replace out of it later. So feel free to pick this up nice and early, so you get an additional Skelly, Zombie, and Spectre through the axe, which is great. You then come down here and take Sacrifice and Spiritual Command for more minion survivability and a little bit more damage. Come up this way through this life wheel over here, which will give you a bit of chaos threads and life, which is also nice for leveling. Down onto the nodes for Redemption and Righteous Army. Again, more minion survivability and damage, so making these axe a breeze. Once you've collected all of these nodes for minion damage and stuff like that, the axe will be super easy to just get through. It'll be a breeze. So once you're comfortable with your minion survivability, then you can start picking up your nodes to start strength stacking your way up to that 1000 number for the zombie leech throughout the axe, which is also very good. So to start getting the a lot of strength, you want to start coming down this way like I have. Heart of the Warrior and Warrior's Blood along the way up there for more life and stuff like that. And you want to just come down to this way, down here, and this is where you'll find utmost strength for the 42 strength and 8% increased strength. And then eventually you'll be able to suck it down your cluster jewel in this node down here as well. So the large cluster that we're using is Raise and Pillage, Renewal, and Vicious Bite. However, you do not need the Raise and Pillage. The Raise and Pillage makes it super expensive. It adds a bit of DPS for when you're min-maxing, but if you're on a budget or you just don't feel like spending a lot, just go for Vicious Bite and Renewal, which is about 69.7x, stuff like that. So as you can see, a lot cheaper without this. Once you put in the Raise and Pillage, this shoots its way up to 7x upwards, so just bear that in mind. And then when it comes to the mediums in the cluster, you're going to want Precise Commander and Vengeful Commander, just pretty staple stuff here for Hatred, Cold Conversion Summoners. So, yeah, those are the 2 mediums you want. Don't worry about them too much. And then socketed inside of those, I have Split Personalities, which are very good for stacking builds. And we have those with Strength and Life. These recording are about 2 to 4x. These fluctuate quite a lot, so let's have a look. I bought mine for 2x each. 2.6, 2.83. Yeah, they'll always stay around that ballpark from what I've seen. And we use 2 of those. You are limited to 2, as you can see at the top there. So 2 of those, and each one gives us 51 strength over here and 51 strength and life over here. So yeah, quite nice. And then come in further up. let's go talk about the other jewels. We have a jewel over here, which is a Thread of Hope Crimson Jewel. -10 to all LE res, medium ring. Medium ring allows you to get this Cruel Preparation, which is max life and a bit of res here to counteract the minus res over here. You can pick up this 8% max life over here with 12% max mana, and then you can also get Ravenous Horde, which is great, which allows us to basically not worry about it, so we can unspec out of here and then anoint Death Attunement later on once we get our Ascendancy or whatever amulet we are using. Aside from that, you don't really need these early on until you're trying to get all your aura setups going. These will make it so you don't need to use any Enlightens in the build as well, paired with the Sakawals, which is great. As for the jewels, so we have the Efficient over here with Corrupted Blood. We have our medium Thread of Hope over here and the ones down the bottom. Now, the typical jewel that we're looking for the build will be minions deal increased damage if you've used a minion skill recently, plus max life, and then maybe plus added fizz or cold damage or something like that. Just any other third stat that you can find is absolutely fine. So the minions increase damage if you use a minion skill recently works with your Summon Skellies as well as your Convocation. So this is pretty much always up. Which is quite nice. I've got one over here as well, which isn't as good. This one doesn't have the increased damage, just got a bit of res on it, so I'm capped out on fire res, as well as tier 1 fizz. So this one isn't nothing too special. And then over here, in this little ring down here, I have a Fortress Covenant, with minions deal 45% increased damage, and it also gives our minions a low chance to block attack and spell damage, which is more survivability for the minions. And since there's no notables here we're taking, we do not care about the the drawback notable passive skills, and this radius are transformed into minions take 20% increased damage. That doesn't affect us here. So yeah, this is a nice spot for that. So yeah, that's basically it for the tree. Moving on to the Ascendancy. We have a Commander of Darkness, which will go for first, which gives your auras from skills grant 3% increased attack and cast speed to you and allies, deal 30% increased damage, and free ally resistance, which is, poggers. After that, we got to Mindless Aggression, and then up to Bone Barrier, which gives us fizz damage reduction, a guard skill, and makes our minions way tankier as well. And then finally, a Natural Strength for the +2 level of all minion skill gems, which will, heavily boost all of your, minion skill gems. Ultimately boosting your damage, survivability, and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the skill tree, guys. POB will be in the description. Leveling just pretty straightforward. Yeah, just take the minion nodes, go for it. You can league start with this build, absolutely. It would be absolutely fine. Yeah, I'm going to move on to the gem links now, guys. I will catch you in a mo. Okay, guys, jumping into the skill gem links. So we'll start with our 6 link setup in our bow, which is the Ray Zombie. So the aim of the game is to make the Ray Zombie level as high as possible, making our zombies stronger. So that is why they're in the bow, where we're getting a bunch of plus socketed gems over here. To complement this, we are putting Empower in. So Empower 4 with a synthesized bow with +1 socketed support gems will be level 8. Level 7 if you have the normal one. If you can't afford Empower 4, feel free to just get 3, and it will still be level 6, which will be absolutely fine. And level 3 is about 30C, 40C right now for an Empower, so not too bad. It won't set you back too much. Next, we have Divergent Multi-Strike. I'm not using the Awakened one because I wanted the increased attack speed from Divergent Multi-Strike, since the melee fizz now gives us 10% less attack speed, which is, pog. Divergent Multi-Strike is pretty good. So yeah, this is about 1x, and I've opted for this instead of Awakened for now. Awakened minion damage over here, level 1 only, 75C for this gem, pick it up, it's cheap. Awakened melee fizz, as I said, we convert our fizz to cold, so we get 56% more melee fizz for this, as well as 10% increased melee fizz, and then we get that dreaded minus 10% attack speed. But it's fine, we no longer get Intimidate on Awakened melee fizz, which kind of sucks, but it's still fine. And then lastly, the second most expensive gem for the build is the Awakened LE damage with attack support, which is only expensive because SST uses it. About 5x for a level 1 one. Don't worry about it too much. If you can't afford one, just get a normal one. Absolutely fine. Moving on to the Skelly setup. So with my skeletons, I kind of have Hypothermia here, simply because I couldn't get the right colors on my Sakawals for ages, so I've just stuck with it for now. Preferably, I would want 3 red, 3 blue, and I would put melee fizz and multi-strike in here. So my current setup is rolling with elemental army support. Minions from supported skills inflict exposure on hit, applying -10 to the elemental resistance, matching the highest damage type taken, which will always be cold. So this applies -10% to cold resistances, which complements our zombies quite a bit as well, giving them more damage. So I'm using that over here. It then also gives our skellies 90% more LE damage themselves, so not too bad, not too shabby. Then we have our 21 Val Summon skellies, which is awesome for, you know, dealing with blight maps and stuff like that. Skellies are just so good for clearing maps. Minion damage support, just a normal one over here. I do have an awaken minion damage in my stash, actually. I should probably just put that in. But yeah, minion life on skellies doesn't even matter anyway, so no real drawback here. Then I have Hypothermia because I just have a green socket that I can't seem to get rid of. So Hypothermia, if I had a red socket here instead, this would be melee physical damage. And then I have melee splash. I would swap this out to multi-strike for bussing, but melee splash for doing maps and doing blight maps and stuff like that is absolutely fine. And then elemental damage with attack support, just a normal one again, not buffing my skellies up too much, but they're still quite powerful even with this Pepega setup. So absolutely fine. You can see their damage values in POE as well, so yeah, they are still pretty damn strong even with this setup. Moving on to the gloves, this is where our 4 green are. So we have Dash with Anomalous Second Wind. Anomalous Second Wind gives an additional cooldown use, so basically our dash has 3 now, which is pretty good, as you can see. So aside from that, we have a Desecrate. Now you don't need to put Desecrate here, it's just basically because we don't have that many green gems, so we're going to have extra slots in our gloves. You can replace the Desecrate with a Portal gem if you really want to save Portal Scrolls and stuff like that. I've just got Desecrate in here in case one of my Spectres dies for whatever reason. I could just throw them out and bring them back. But yeah, swap it to Portal if you really want for mapping. And then also we have our Hatred in here as well, which is the main aura that we're going to be using for the build. Doesn't need to be linked to an Enlighten or anything, so feel free to just stick it in your gloves. Moving on to my boots. Feeded and Frenzy support with a Summon Carrion Golem to buff our guys up a bit, give them a bit more fizz damage, as you can see. Summon Skitterbot's aura and a precision level 1, just so our minions have a bit more accuracy and crit chance. And that should be fine. Even without an Enlighten, with 8% on my chest, I have 58 unreserved mana, which allows me to cast my Summon Skellies still, as you can see. That's why I'm using the Enduring Mana Flask as well, just so I can spam the Skellies without any real problems with mana. Yeah, that should be fine. In my helmet is the Ray Spectre, pretty standard setup here. Ray Spectre, Meat Shield support with Divergent Animate Guardian, which gives you the increased minion maximum life by 40%, which is very, very big. And then also the life tap support, so our Spectres don't run out of mana and can just permanently give power and frenzy charges. So this is the setup you want in the helmet. And then lastly, the 2 rings. We have Frostbite in the left ring, so our Skitterbot applies it. And then a Convocation here, so we can bring as zombies and stuff to us very, very quickly. Get them out of danger, if like they're in the Cirrus Meteor or whatever, or the Maven's thing on the side, we can bring them out. And also, if you just like dash on top of an enemy and Convocate, you will get some damage from your minion jewels and stuff like that. And it's just very, very good for conveniently killing bosses. So that's just about the setup for the gem links. Alright guys, so lastly I'm going to talk about the Pantheons, the Bandits, the Spectres, and the Animate Guardian. So very quickly, let's start with the Pantheons. So I'm using Brine King for stun immunity, as well as Shikari for reduced chaos damage taken. So if I take a look at my resistances over here, I have 44% chaos res, which is pretty good. I rarely die to chaos damage or anything. If you take a look, 35 deaths, I've done literally everything in the game, the feared, everything like that. So 35 times, level 88 at the moment. It's not too shabby, to be honest. Now, as for the Bandits, I have killed all for the 2 points, which is pretty crucial for a summoner. For the Spectres, we are using the Carnage and Host Chieftains for the Frenzy and Power Charges, which you can get in Act 7 on the Ashen Fields over here. Just feel free to throw a Desecrate out and you'll get them eventually. You use A button to target, if you want to see what that looks like. I don't have Ray Spectre here. Put that there. So there you go. So if you hold A, it brings it up at the top there, so you can just look around. So that's the one I would revive, just so you're aware on how to do that. And then finally, for the Animate Guardian, I am basically going with the mini Aurabot setup. So I am using the Kingmaker Axe, which gives the rarity, the crit multi, and the fortify. I'm using the Garb of the Ephemeral, which gives nearby allies cannot be reduced below base value action speed, as well as nearby enemies cannot deal crits. Victoria's Flight Boots, which are 2C for the move speed aura for me and my zombies. Leocast Festival Mask for this damage aura up here. And then to make my boy a bit tankier, I'm using the Replica Volker's Guidance Gloves, which give 41 Chaos Res and max life, pushing my little Guardian up here to max Chaos Res, along with this node here. I don't know if I talked about it. The Grave Intentions, which gives minions Chaos Res, and this one up here as well, these two. So, yeah. That's just about it from me, guys. If you have any questions, drop by the Discord or drop a message on YouTube. I will try and reply to you as fast as possible. That's it from me, guys. Take care. Good luck. Goodbye.